in this example, we're going to be working with right triangles and the three basic trig functions. So just as a reminder, our trig functions are given by the phrase SOHCAHTOA. So SOHCAHTOA means SOHCAHTOA, and this is how it's spelled, SOHCAHTOA. So what these words, or what these letters mean is sine is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Second, we have cosine, which is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And then the last one is tangent, and that one is represented by the opposite side over the adjacent side. Oop. Okay. So your first step in this is locating your reference angle. So in this case, my reference angle is my 48 degrees, and that angle should be given to you either as an actual angle measurement, like this one's 48 degrees, or if we don't know that angle measure, it'll put it as theta. Or it could have an X here if we don't know what that angle measure is. All right. In this case, generally, if you see the theta symbol, which is a Greek letter, that symbol represents an angle measure. So anytime you see this symbol, we use it just like it's a variable, but it's a specific variable specifically used for an angle measure. All right, so once we locate our reference angle, in this case is 48 degrees, what we have to do next is identify the two sides that we're working with, okay? Or the two sides that we are using. And when we name the two sides, we're using either opposite, hypotenuse, or adjacent. Okay? Well, hopefully, we're all familiar with which side of a right triangle has to be the hypotenuse. Well, in this problem, since I'm not given a value for the hypotenuse, my x is not identifying the hypotenuse. In this problem, hypotenuse is not in use. All right, so what we are using in this problem is if you go directly across from your reference angle, that's going to point to your opposite side. Okay, so my opposite side in this case is 20. This other leg up here, since I've already identified the hypotenuse is here, the opposite side is my 20. The third side, the only side that's left, has to be the adjacent side. All right, so my trig functions, I have three choices that I can, or three options to choose from. I can either choose the sine function, the cosine function, or the tangent function. So the one that I choose, the one that I'm going to use in each problem, is given by the two sides that we're dealing with. In this problem, we're dealing with the opposite side and the adjacent side. Well, if we go through these three trig functions, sine uses opposite and hypotenuse. Cosine uses adjacent and hypotenuse. Tangent is the only one that relates the opposite side to the adjacent side. All right? So I'm going to erase these other two. Since now I've determined that I have to use the tangent function. I thought I could slide those over pretty easily, but it's not really working well for me. Okay, so let's try this again. I'm going to erase these top two functions. I'm going to select all of this. And I'm going to go ahead and just group those all together. So now I can just, well, I guess that didn't work. So let's try it again. Let's select all of them. Group and group. Now it's all one piece. So I can just slide it up here. So the way my trig function looks, it's essentially going to just be an equation, but I have to make sure I get it set up correctly. So here's the way your trig function operates. So I'm going to write tangent. Immediately following tangent is my angle measure. And that equals my, and that equals my opposite side over my adjacent side. All right, so now I go in and I'm going to fill in the values that I'm given. So in this case, I'm given the opposite side, and I'm given the angle measure. So I'm going to go tangent, fill in your angle measure that's given. Tangent 48 degrees equals the opposite side over, well, my adjacent side is my unknown, so that's my x. So 20 over x. Well, there's a long way to do these, and there's a shortcut way to do these. I'm going to take you through the shortcut. So since my variable, my x, is in the denominator, what that tells me is that to solve for x, I'm going to divide this numerator, so my 20, divided by my trig function. So 20 divided by tangent 48 degrees. So this is always how we set the problem up when the x is in the denominator. So what we're going to do on the calculator is we're going to type this in just like it's written. So I'm going to do 20 divided by tangent 48, close the parentheses, and I get 18.01 as my adjacent side. And that's it. I am done with this problem.